Getting your body into a fat burning mode is easier than you might think. The problem is most guys are wasting their time on the wrong things. But if you apply the 3 simple tips I'm going to take you through today, you'll be amazed at how much your body can change in just a few weeks. I've already used these tips to help hundreds of guys lose anything from 20 to 75 pounds of fat, and they're particularly effective if you're over 30 years old. So full screen the video, lock in, and let's get into fat burning mode. The first thing we need to address is how you're training in the gym, because I expect you've picked up a few bad habits along the way. The thing is, it's not even your fault. The chances are when you first started going to the gym, you didn't have a clue what you were doing, right? I mean, why would you? So I expect you did what most guys do. You looked around the gym, found the biggest guy in the best shape, and attempted to copy exactly what he was doing. Here's the thing. Even if those guys know what they're doing, and you'd be surprised, a lot of them don't, the chances are the way he is training isn't going to suit you. But this way of doing things spreads quickly. You copy one guy, another guy copies you, and before you know it, 90% of the guys in the gym are just doing random workouts that aren't going to get them any closer to their goals. You end up with a gym full of guys doing peculiar, complex, even dangerous exercises that just aren't going to move the needle. And to make matters worse, it's become acceptable, heck, even normal to see guys spend more time scrolling on their phone than they are actually working out. So we need to rip up the playbook and rebuild your workouts from the ground up so that they're more efficient and more effective. And that starts by prioritizing a group of exercises called compound movements. These are the exercises that use the biggest muscles in your body, and they normally use several of them at the same time. And that's good for 2 reasons. Because not only does it mean that you're going to build the biggest muscles, which is going to have the biggest impact on your physique in the shortest amount of time, but these exercises also turn your body into a fat burning machine. You see, after you push past the first couple of reps in a set, your muscles require oxygen to contract. That's why back in the day, I used to spend half my time on the gym floor just telling my clients to breathe. You know what it's like. You're probably guilty of it yourself. You see a guy go for a heavy set and it's like, breathe, man. That ain't going to get you far, buddy. The bigger the muscle and the more reps that you're doing, the more oxygen you require. And the more oxygen that your muscles need, the harder that your lungs have to work to breathe in that oxygen. And then the harder your heart has to work to pump that oxygen in the blood to the muscles so that they can contract. And all of these processes, your lungs, your heart, your muscles contracting, they're all very energy intensive. In other words, they require a lot of calories. So if you want to see the biggest difference in your physique and burn the most fat in the shortest amount of time possible, then I strongly recommend that you structure your workouts around these compound movements. Now, don't get me wrong. There is still time and space for you to do your bicep curls and your crunches, your isolation movements. But you just have to bear in mind that these isolation movements tend to use smaller muscles and as a result, burn fewer calories. So right now, they're just not the priority. So what I would do is put them at the back end of your workout. The way I'd structure your workout is to start it off with 2 to 3 compound movements, depending on the split and the number of reps that you're planning to do. So for example, if you were following a 3-day full body plan, like a lot of my clients when they first join the coaching program that I run, you might start your first workout with 3 or 4 sets of leg press doing 10 to 15 reps. Now that's quite an intensive compound move. So after that one, you'd probably only want to do 1 more and you want to make it an upper body one. So you've done a compound move for your lower body and a compound move for your upper body. Whereas if you have more time in the week and you're able to commit to 4 workouts, you could do 2 lower body workouts and 2 upper body workouts, which means you can spread your compound movements out more and do more sets of each of them. So in your first lower body day, you might do squats and leg press. And then in the second lower body day, you might do deadlifts and lunges. So do you see what I mean? There is no perfect workout routine. It's very much around what works for you, what fits into your life. And I think most important of all, what aligns with your goals. And you can Google or ChatGPT a full list of all the compound movements. But what I'll do is put a list of the classics on the screen right now for you. But before we move on to the second tip that's going to get your body into a fat burning mode, there are 2 additional benefits to prioritizing your compound movements. Number 1, we've already talked about the fact that the compound movements help you to build the biggest muscles in your body, yeah? Well, the more lean muscle that you have in the entirety of your body, the faster your metabolism is going to be. Why? because muscle is metabolic tissue. And what that means is that unlike fat cells, it requires energy, calories to survive. So that means with more muscle, you're burning more calories 24/7. And then number two is that these exercises, particularly the compound moves that work your legs, so the squats, the deadlifts, the leg press, the lunges, the hip thrusts, the things like that, they've been scientifically proven to naturally boost your testosterone levels. Why is that important? Well, with higher testosterone, you're going to have more energy and more drive. And when you feel good, the hard things feel easier. You actively want to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And we all know that's where the growth really happens. So yeah, compound movements are for the win, guys. And then the second way to get your body into fat burning mode is to give it the right fuel, a type of fuel that helps to support all that new muscle you've built, that helps to fill you up, that helps stabilize your blood sugar levels, and even helps to keep those cravings at bay. In other words, a type of fuel that helps you to burn fat and build muscle at the same time. And that fuel is protein. To give you an idea of just how important protein is, we have to go way back and look at the origins of the word itself. You see, the word protein actually comes from the ancient Greek word protos, which means first. Those Greeks figured out thousands of years ago just how valuable it is. But these days, most guys aren't eating nearly enough of it. As an absolute bare minimum, you should be eating 100 grams of protein a day. But if you're taking your health seriously, you should be aiming for 1 gram of protein for every pound that you weigh. So if you weigh 180 pounds, that means you should be aiming for 180 grams of protein each day. But before you lose your mind and throw a hissy fit and tell me that that can't be done, ask yourself, if you even know how much protein you're actually eating right now. Track your food for a week. Treat it like an audit. You might be pleasantly surprised, but the chances are this is going to be a rude wake-up call. Once you've nailed your protein, you can fill up the rest of your calories with your carbs and your fats. Both of these macronutrients are equally as important as protein in my view for different reasons. Carbs are our body's preferred source of fuel, and fat helps support your immune system and your endocrine system, your hormones. In fact, I recently did a whole other video about this and recommending the perfect macronutrient split, which I'll link up here. There we go. So that you can watch that if you want. But the biggest thing to think about when you're considering your carbs and your fats isn't necessarily the quantity. I think it's more about the quality, because there's a huge difference in having 200 grams of carbs from fizzy drinks and sweets versus rice and potato. And it's not just the quality of your carbs and your fats that are important. The same goes for your protein. Don't let the vegans tell you that all protein is created equally, because it ain't. Just like fuel at a gas station, there are varying levels of quality when it comes to your protein. I'll put the best sources of protein on the screen for you now, but what all of these have in common is that they're called complete proteins. That means they contain all 9 essential amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein and every cell in your body. There are 20 amino acids in total, but 11 of them are classified as non-essential because your body has the ability to produce them itself. So you see, it's the 9 essential amino acids that we need to pay particularly close attention to. These are the ones that we need to get from our food because our body can't produce them. And to maximize the fat burning effect of protein, try to spread your intake out throughout the day. That's going to help to keep your stomach full and those pesky cravings at bay. And then last but not least, tip number 3 to get your body into a fat burning mode is to become a strategic mover. Let me explain what I mean. You see, when most guys think about burning fat, they think about eating less and doing a ton of cardio or HIIT workouts. They picture sweating and panting. They think it has to be hard. They think it has to be extreme, but it really doesn't. In fact, the more extreme it is, the more likely you are to fail. You might go far fast, but you won't make it to your destination, Shredsville. What you want to be doubling down on instead is your step count. Hitting 70,000 steps a week, whether that's 10,000 every single day if you like routine, or doing what you can when you can if your life is a little bit more hectic and chaotic. And in particular, you want to try and walk for at least 20 minutes after any big meal, because this has been proven to drastically improve how your body digests and breaks down food. Walking isn't sexy. You'll never see it in a Rocky training montage, but that's a movie, and This is real life. It's doing the basics well and doing them consistently that doesn't just get you the results, but it helps to build you the lifestyle so that you can maintain them. I've helped hundreds of guys lose anything from 20 to 75 pounds of fat, and not one of them had to run a single mile. And this is where it gets crazy. If you weigh 200 pounds and walk 10,000 steps a day for a year, not only will you have walked the equivalent of 66 marathons, but you'll have burned 146,000 calories and 41 pounds of fat. The bottom line is walking is sustainable, it's joint friendly, and most important of all, it helps you burn fat without destroying your body. Plus, it only takes the average guy 8 minutes to do 1,000 steps, which means you can do 10,000 in less than an hour and a half. Now, when you factor in that most guys will subconsciously do 2,000 steps a day just existing, whether that's walking around the house, grocery shopping, commuting to work, playing with the kids, it means that you only consciously have to aim to do 8,000 steps a day. That's an hour's walk before work to wake you up, or an hour after work to de-stress and calm you down. And better yet, you can multitask while you do it. Whether it's listening to an audiobook or a podcast, sticking on a playlist, phoning your friend, phoning your mum, switching your work calls from Zoom to the old-fashioned telephone, walking doesn't just help with your physical health, it helps with your mental health too. You see, it activates a part of your nervous system called the PNS, the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's the part of your nervous system which is linked to rest and digestion. In other words, it relaxes you. And guess what relaxation is good for? Sleep. And when you're sleeping well, all the stuff that we've talked about today, your protein, your lifts in the gym, your walking, your drive, your energy, it all feels easier. I used to think of health as a circle with 3 equal parts where you had your fitness, your sleep, and your nutrition. But the older I've gotten myself and the more clients that I've worked with over the years, the more I've realized that health is like a pyramid with sleep at the base of it. Now, I'm not just going to sit here and tell you to sleep better because it isn't necessarily something you can control. There are upstream activities, the stuff we've talked about today, that if you master and you do them consistently will help you to sleep better. And then you're creating a virtuous cycle where this stuff up here gets easier and then you sleep better and then you start to see the results and the whole thing becomes very self-reinforcing. It's not about reinventing the wheel every 3 weeks. It's about doing the basics and doing them consistently and falling in love with the process. It's about resetting your expectations and understanding that this isn't going to take a couple of weeks. This will probably take a few months, but that's absolutely fine because what you should be really focused on is making sure you're going in the right direction, having the data to back that up, to take the emotion out of the equation and make sure that you're running on logic, and then be focused on your trajectory rather than the speed that you're going at. Because guess what? If you're the type of guy who's watching a video like this, who is actively trying to improve his health, then I guarantee you, you are a type A man. And one of the biggest traits of a type A man is that we are never satisfied. We are never full. We are always hungry. We always want more. So as soon as you reach that goal, I guarantee you, you're just going to go, what's next? So don't obsess over the speed that you need to achieve your goal. Focus on pointing yourself in the right direction and the trajectory that you're going at. I appreciate that some of this stuff I've taken you through today is basic. I appreciate you've probably heard it before, but it's not the message. It's the messenger. Maybe today is the day that you actually get up and do something about it, because this stuff, the stuff we've been through today, this is what moves the needle, guys. And I'm going to keep banging this drum because I've been through it myself and I've worked with hundreds of guys and I know it works. I'm not going to sit here like a lot of these other YouTubers and preach about the 1% hacks like drinking apple cider vinegar or green tea or taking ice baths or saunas every day and swallowing hundreds of supplements on the daily. Do these things work? Yeah, sure. But they aren't going to be the thing that helps you to lose 20, 50, or even 100 pounds because you're not trying to lose weight and body fat. You're trying to create a new lifestyle. If you are not where you want to be right now, it's because you're not acting like the man that you need to be. It is about the habits not the hacks. Those things, the apple cider vinegar, the ice baths, the supplements, all of this stuff, this is actually what keeps people stuck. I call it SOS, shiny object syndrome, because these people, the people who are stuck in that cycle, they always need that new dopamine fix. They jump from trend to trend without making any real headway because they're dancing around the boring basics that make the real difference. The stuff that works is boring. It isn't sexy. But let me tell you something. It isn't boring when it starts to work. When you notice yourself looking different in the mirror, when you realize that you have to tighten your belt a little bit tighter to put your pants on, when you feel your bicep against your sleeve, when someone else tells you that you're looking good, when you realize that you have more energy in the mornings. Yes, you will ask yourself, what's the point in all this at the beginning? But that is why so many guys fail with this. Not because there's some massive secret or conspiracy, but because they lack the patience and the discipline to persevere. But of course, the hardest part is pulling all this together and then being consistent. And that's the real value of having a coach, someone that you can outsource this to, someone who can build you a simple plan that gives your life more structure and then support you, motivate you, and most important of all, hold you accountable to the habits that you need to implement and the habits that you need to get rid of to become the man that I know you're capable of, and to keep you on track when those shiny objects come flying at you. And that is exactly what I do. That's all I do. I've been doing it for 6 years now, and if I do say so myself, I'm pretty good at it. So if you want to find out how my coaching program works and see if it's a good fit for you, click the link in the description underneath this video. Until next time, cheers.